We recently had a very heated debate in this chamber about some of the current events that are taking place across our country. And I heard a number of my colleagues get up and speak about the protests across our country and how they are offensive to veterans and how veterans are offended by what's taking place. And when I heard that, I felt an obligation to come to the podium today just to share a few thoughts, in my opinion, on this matter as well. There's only 3 veterans that serve in the state Senate here today. We know how one of them feels because he spoke about this issue. I can't speak for the other senator, but I can say that I never spoke with anybody about how I feel about this issue. And so I don't rise today to speak on behalf of all veterans, because that's most certainly not my place. But I would implore my friends on the other side of this issue just to stop and think about the countless veterans who served our country only to come home to a country that did not value them as a human being. In World War II, we had more than 1 million African Americans serve our country in war. During the Korean War, another 600,000 plus African Americans were enlisted in the armed forces. Approximately 275,000 African Americans served their country in Vietnam. These men and women loved their country, even at a time when their country did not love them back. I would ask my colleagues if they could do the same thing. In all 3 of these conflicts, men and women of color returned home to a country that treated them as unequals. Separate bathrooms, segregated classrooms, disenfranchisement, lynchings. And so to paraphrase my friend from the 1st District, were these veterans not people? Did they not have value? And it's true that we have made progress, but simply making progress is not good enough. Ask yourself if simply making progress after centuries of slavery, oppression, segregation, and murder would give you any level of satisfaction. Would it make you feel hope for your children's future? Would it give you hope for your grandchildren's future? Ask yourself, after years of oppression, of second-class citizenship, after being devalued as a people by pseudoscience and pseudo-intellectuals, would you remain silent simply because somebody told you that progress had been made? I think not. But alas, this protest and this debate, it is not about the national anthem, and it is not about the flag, and it is certainly not an attempt to disparage people like myself who have worn the cloth of this country. I would ask, when did the flag and the anthem become more important than the document that outlines the values that they are supposed to symbolize? I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. That was the oath that I took when I joined the United States Marine Corps. It's the First Amendment that says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of their grievances. Madam President, as a veteran, I did not simply fight for a flag. I fought for the values that that flag represents. And one of those values happens to be the First Amendment that guarantees the rights to free speech and to peacefully assemble. There is nothing wrong with standing up and affirming the words that Black Lives Matter. Nothing. And so when my colleagues rise, when they decide to speak out against peaceful protesters, I ask that you leave my name out of it, because you do not speak for me.